This is Justin Roy giving a quick rundown of my current program that's not officially working 100%. Just discovered a new bug with Apache 9.0.8 that is currently making it not endorsed by Eclipse according to errors, and I'm going to be installing 8.0 in the near future and testing that, but let's get started. So I use the top.jsp that was given in homework 4. I added a small thing of initialized database, and that will be when a user is logged on, they'll be able to see this and choose this item to initialize database. And during this part, I added a new initialized JSP, which has an additional login just for the sake of keeping them logged in. I might remove this in the near future, and then a functionality to assign reviewers to paper. One of the ideas was we're going to be able to assign 3 reviewers to a paper, take username 1, 2, and 3 by the get username functionality in the Java program, and return and put those into a database. Along with the register. It would be similar to the register function, except we'll be putting it probably into a different table that has reviewers, maybe on the paper table or review table, depending on where it fits best. The main block of what I did was called conference management, just based on the previous title of the project. I am seeing a small error here somewhere along the way. Java doesn't want to register their servlets. This was working as of last night, but whatever is happening, I'm going to fix that real quick. I think it's a build path issue, but we'll talk about that later. So not really doing too much in the top part of this basic functionality of servlets. So the main body of the function is coming in the do post functionality. So I have a basic object-oriented approach of, making a new class, myClass.post, and this is where the nuts and bolts really come in, meat and potatoes, if you will. So first off, I did a hard code of the strings that are saying where the database is, what the username and password is, which this could be not hard-coded and make a method of saying what's the appropriate response to this, but for the sake of early on testing, just hard-coded it, so when it calls it from these few lines, we will just have it in there, so it makes it easy. So the next problem I had was, how do I read a large SQL file and make it execute in order? So I used a basic, file string reader. People have done this 100 times, and it takes each string of user.sql, which I'll show the user.sql in a minute, of what I added to it, and as long as it's not null and we have extra things to read, we just keep it pending onto it, and then when it hits a termination marker, we move on to the next one. So for each of these, we're basically going to say, the create statement that is done by SQL, and then execute it. So once we get past this, all this stuff down here is just simple try and catches for all the errors and exceptions that you'd find in SQL and class not existing, and basically everything that's from homework 4 had to be ported into this one to make sure it was not going to throw any errors. So for the user.sql, again, previously from homework 4, which we were requested to use, and they had the functionality of having users register and log in, why not reuse that functionality? So previously, in a previous class, I chose to always drop my tables first. So you don't have to do this, but it makes it easier so you don't run into any issues of having stuff that's left over. So then cascade the constraints. This might need to be fixed a little bit depending on the method of SQL, the schema that we use. This order might be wrong in terms of dropping, and then the constraints don't get dropped, or etc. So that will be up for this was my quickest method of putting it together. tb.user was from a previous homework 4. This is my current schema that I'm choosing to use for the select statements. So this is what was previous being, it will be fed in line by line. So we'll start, for instance, in my newly created stuff, it'll start here and it will go all the way to here, the termination statement. The idea of this one was a committee member can only be assigned 3 papers, I believe. And then the program committee has, the paper has 3 reviewers, and the program committee can only have at most 5, I believe. There's the checking of the constraints was based on what is being told us by the rubric and the functionality of what can't be done, so they can have up to a certain amount, and that includes the paper and the PC, the program committee. There might be an additional constraint here on the review where a single program committee member can only review a single paper that they've been assigned. This might come here, this might come back here. I'm not 100% sure exactly where I want to put that yet, but there will have to be an additional constraint. Some of the issues I have ran into, just simple things. For instance, this username 123 is currently not functional due to the user code. I have not updated yet inside the web.inf class, but that will be fixed soon, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, I believe that is it. Thank you.